Hello and welcome back to the Jessica Pinelli podcast. How are we going? December 15th, the time of recording, 10 days until Christmas. Before we get started, I'm excited, as I always am, for this podcast episode. I think it's going to help a lot of you. Let's do an angel card pull. So while I'm shuffling, I would love for you to choose a number one or a number two. Like I always say, whatever comes to mind first, don't change it. Go with your first gut instinct as I'm shuffling, as I'm tuning into your energy. I would absolutely love it if you could hit the subscribe button, if you could hit the thumbs up. It supports the channel. It is pushing out my videos to so many like minded, high achieving women. It's absolutely great to connect with you here on YouTube. And for all my listeners, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you're tuning in from, I would absolutely love if you could leave a 5-star review, if you could leave a written review. I appreciate it. I know I say this every episode, but it does. Like I really have found my mojo again with the podcast this year. And it's thanks to you guys. It's thanks to connecting with all of you from all over the world and slide into my DMs if you have a podcast episode suggestion, if you want to share it and tag it on your story, then I love to see it. But have you got your number? One or two? I'm gonna grab two cards. Normally the top one is like one, but something in me is like, no, use that as number two and use this as number one. Okay, are we ready? My number ones. Your card is Lemuria, creating heaven on earth. It's happening. Okay, so I never use the book. I just kind of go what I feel intuitively. This to me straight away is like, how can you create your version of heaven, aka your ideal life, here in this 3D reality? That's how I'm interpreting this. That's what I'm feeling is like whatever you want to bring into your reality, like your ideal. When we think of our ideal life, when we think of the life we truly desire to live, our big life, again, big can mean in any different way. It can mean becoming a billionaire or it can mean living on a farm with 20 puppies. So big in whatever way, how can you create that, take that from your mental mind and bring it into your 3D physical reality? I like that. It's a nice reminder for this time of the year. My number twos, align your life. What is not aligned or needs to change? This one's a simple one. Again, fitting for this time of year. What are we getting rid of? We are currently also in the middle of a Mercury retrograde. Remember, this is all about communication. This is all about resetting. This is all about just re energizing and just looking at our life. So, this is the perfect time. Don't be afraid of the retrograde. But what I will say, this card, if you chose this is just about what are you getting rid of now? What can you be really honest with yourself, needs to be cut from your life, needs to be realigned, even if you feel the resistance, even if you feel like it's super hard or it's making your nervous system feel a bit whack. This is a sign. Whatever has come to mind as well as I'm speaking, it's probably time for you to realign or change. So I love these two cards together, my ones and my twos. My ones, again, how are you bringing what you were thinking in your mind into the 3D physical reality? And my number twos, it's time for a realignment. It's time to change what you've been doing. It has worked for you up until now. I love those cards. Now, today's podcast episode is a vibe from my goals setting and intention setting workshop that I am hosting next Tuesday, the 19th. Now, whenever you listen to this or you're watching here on YouTube, if you have missed December 19th, there is still the link. The workshop is only $22. This link is still in the show notes somewhere. You can still get the replay. That is fine. But I am excited. This workshop is called CEO Monday. You guys know I have been using the phrase Happy CEO Monday the longest time. Yes, the workshop is hosted on a Tuesday. That was majority rules. But the reason I've called it CEO Monday Happy Hour is because I'm really bringing the vibe of CEO Monday, of being the CEO of your life when it comes to goal setting and intention setting. I am someone that from the ages of 2021 to 27, I would get to this point in year and I would write like on an A4 piece of paper, like 20 plus goals that by February I've lost motivation. By May, that I definitely haven't hit any of those goals. And then I would get to November, December, and I'd feel really disappointed. I'd feel anxious. I'd feel a lot of shame because I meant well. Like I did have the intention and I really wanted to change my life, but I found myself always in the same cycles, always attracting the same relationships, always having the same money mindset, always attracting the same type of boss and job that just was not fulfilling, just creating these same loops and cycles. And when that happens, it's because we don't have an efficient plan of attack. Goal setting can be very boring. It can be like, I want to save $5,000, or I want to get $5,000 in my business, like my first $5,000 month, or I want to lose 5 kilos, right? I felt like I needed to say five, and there was three of them. So 555 is also the angel number for change. Maybe that's a synchronicity for some of you. But I definitely feel that I used to see it as very boring, as something that's like, I have to do new year, new me, that type of energy. But I honestly did fail. It's okay, right? With law of polarity, there's failure and there's success. However, over the past 2 years, I've really refined my version of goal setting and intention setting. I have my past clients, a couple of them have actually messaged me in the past week. They're like, I've done your goal setting the way you taught me, and I'm ready for this year. One of my past clients, she is on track with doing her goals and realigning herself with my process for $200,000 revenue in her business. And it's just incredible because she has been doing this process with me for the past couple of years as well. It works. It's effective. It's fun. It's not a process that is kind of like, all right, write down this goal and then, yeah, work at it every single day. I make it fun. I make it intentional. And this workshop is only $22. I want it accessible to as many people as possible because I think it is so important. Everyone should learn how to effectively set and reach goals. And it is honestly the reason I have created six figures in my business, why I've been able to attract and create a secure, safe relationship, why I have been able to stay on top of my health, my wellness. We have manifested a brand new and created a brand new apartment in the new year and travel. There is so much that is kind of just it's been a big quantum leap from this process. So that is hosted live Tuesday, 19th of December. Show notes below. You can sign up. If it is past this date, you absolutely can still sign up. And what I'll say, if you're listening to this like a random day, April, it is still applicable. Okay. It is still pretty much applicable. I want you to also, by the way, this whole episode is the vibe of goals, but I just want you to remember that we can do a reset, we can do a realignment with our goals in a fun, intentional way at any time in the year. So if it's a random day in April, random night in October, you were listening or watching to this podcast, get it. It's $22. It's in the show notes. It's something I want to share with everything. I think it's such a great intentional process. And I'm really, really excited to do this live. But that's in the show notes. But for this episode, I wanted to kind of kickstart. And maybe you have definitely been thinking about your goals. Maybe you have some anxiety, some shame, some disappointment. Maybe you do have a bit of excitement, but you're also maybe in the loop of consuming so much of like, okay, what should I do? Where should I be next year? That it's all dopamine hits. You're not really moving the needle in anything. And so today I wrote it on my phone notes so I would not forget at any point. I'm going to give you some realistic goal setting tips just to help you. And if you were listening to this before my live workshop, before you sign up for it, amazing. Keep these in mind. These will be things that I bring up again in the workshop in depth, but I really just felt for the collective. All right, let's be realistic when we are setting our goals and intentions. Yes, for the new year, but anytime. So, my number one, there, I have 5 points. My number one is cutting down. Like I shared with you, I promise you, I used to get an A4 piece of paper and it would be 20 minimum goals. Oh my God, I need to take a drink of water. 2 seconds. I feel like my throat chakra. I have so many recordings to do to get today. And I'm like, oh, throat chakra, don't do this to me. Thank you for the pause. It's very realistic. Normally I would have paused and had a big drink, but that's okay. We do everything in real time here. Okay, so number one, cut down. I used to write like 20 minimum goals on an A4 piece of paper in my journal, and I'd be like so excited and so enthusiastic. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, new year, me. I'm gonna smash all these goals. And then, like I said, I get to February and I'd lose motivation and all of this, and I'd make excuses, right? And maybe you've you've learned from yourself now, and maybe this is a bit of a reflection, but like, what's your excuse? Do you lose motivation and say you don't have enough motivation, you don't have enough discipline, you don't have enough focus, or it's easy for other people, or it's not the right time in life, or there's not enough money? Like, what is it? I think this will feed into my point number two, but that's something to think about. So cut down on your goals. And again, with the podcast, I like to give you very realistic tips, very tangible tips that may seem obvious, but it's incredible to me that I can have these obvious conversations with people, and they're like, oh, like, and I'm like, are you actually doing it? They're like, no. Okay, so start doing it. Cut down. Whatever you have just started conjuring up in your brain of what you want to achieve in the next 12 months, if we're just focusing on the next 12 months, cut it right down. Quality over quantity when it comes to goals. And this is coming from someone, again, minimum 20 goals for the year, right? I am a high achiever for a reason. I want to smash things. I want to bring in so much to my life. But the one thing I've learned about, and again, all of this I'm going to go into depth inside of the workshop, is like the quality of the goal is going to be your absolute best thing you can think about when it comes to actually achieving that goal rather than the quantity. And it may sound really cool for your ego to be able to tick off 20 to 30 goals, but I tell you what, it's going to be better for your soul driven mission, your connection to self, to be able to have quality goals that by this time next year, December 15, next year you can say, I'm so pleased with the way that I've created my life because it was very intentional. And that, honestly, number one, this first one, people don't realize, people don't listen to, they don't think about. And I didn't used to. Again, all of this I say with so much love because I used to be there. And so I want you to cut down. I want you to cut down, and in the process that I share in the workshop, I actually show how to cut down, because you may be thinking, oh my God, like, what's the best goal? What's the best quality goal? Like, they're both equally important. I show you, I go through this process of how to do that. But just remember, overall, cut down on your goals. You don't need as many as you're thinking you need, or as many as your ego is telling you to need. All right. Number two, realistic and reflective. My two R's when it comes to goal setting. Number one, being really realistic with the goals. Okay. If you have made $50,000 in the past year in your business, you are not going to make $500 million next year. Like, we can do all the manifestation and law of attraction and we can, but we also, this is where sometimes I find like the spiritual side, people like, it doesn't mean you can never bring that into your life. That could be a goal in 5 years' time or whatever. It doesn't mean that it's just your business that brings the money. It could be investments, it could be an inheritance. Again, maybe you could attract that. But what I am saying that sometimes is really hard for people to hear when they're really big on manifestation is like, you need to be very realistic, which goes into the second R, reflective. You need to reflect on where you are at. If you had a goal at the start of last year, at the start of this year, to save $20,000 and have it in your savings by December, and you've looked in your savings now and there's $1,000 in there, you need to reflect. This comes back into the excuses. Is that I'm not motivated enough, or I didn't get paid enough, or I had so many bills, or I was super tired, or I just wanted to live my life. Next year's different. Be reflective. And I said this to one of my one-on-ones on my call the other day, which, by the way, I have 2 spots open for one-on-one mentorship. It's called my Reclaim mentorship. It's my one-on-one is 6 to 12 months long, and it's all about really healing the relationship that you have with yourself and getting into the nitty gritty. It's like my high level touch point when it comes to support and when it comes to changing the relationship you have with yourself, which we know is the most important relationship. But what I was saying to one of my one-on-ones the other day is, when we are being realistic, it's not about shaming ourselves, it's not about judging ourselves, but it's realistic and reflective. It's about getting to know ourselves better. And from the ages of 21 to 27, I just wasn't getting to know myself better. I wasn't getting to understand why I operated in the way I did. And I don't just mean childhood trauma and our core beliefs. Yes, that's a big part of reflection. But I mean, like, why do you keep sabotaging that goal of gaining more clients? Why do you keep sabotaging losing 10 kilos? Why? Like, you really need to be reflective of where you're at, but it's also okay to realize that number one, you aren't aligned with some goals and you can truly say that. Or number two, you just didn't work at it. There were a couple of goals I set at the start of this year that I really stopped working at, maybe April. And upon reflection, they're not important to me anymore. And that's okay. But there is a difference between understanding and being authentic, like this isn't aligned, and just being plain fucking lazy of like, oh, I just didn't work on it whatsoever. So just remember that. Realistic and reflective. Very important things that I want you to consider. I want you to remember when it comes to setting your goals. The more realistic you are, the better you can be. And where I find the fine line between being realistic and not pushing yourself, you need to find like what kind of scares you a little bit. Let's say that you are now having consistent $10,000 months in your business. A unrealistic goal would be maybe saying by this time next year I am making per month $600,000, right? You've gone from 10,000 to 600,000. Again, I think I need to preface this with saying anything is possible, right? But again, to move forward in our goals, we need to have some form of connection to it. A lot of people set these wild fucking dreams and goals they have no connection to. They can't actually make that leap because they need a middle ground first. So realistic for you, but pushing you maybe $50,000 months. But you may think realistic to you is $20,000 months. But when you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, like I feel like if I just put in a bit more momentum, I could reach that. But really pushing, and I have evidence in my world that this happens, I could bring in $50,000 months. Does that make sense? Again, all of this we go into depth when it comes to the workshop, but I just want you to find that sweet spot of where it scares you a little bit, but you know you're being realistic, and that realism has come from you reflecting. Number three, okay, nervous system tuning. I want you to, this is like a small part, lacking a bit of context because it's come directly from what I'm going to speak about in the workshop. But nervous system tuning, looking at your goals and your intentions and being able to feel where it feels uncomfortable in your body, where it feels you like if you lost 10 kilos, that's one of your fitness goals. How do you feel in your body? If you looked in the mirror and you got into the feeling like, okay, it's December 15, 2024, or again, whenever you're listening to this, 12 months beyond listening to this, and you have lost 10 kilos, where's the uneasiness? First, it may be the excitement. First, it may be, yeah, I did it. But then it's like, where does your nervous system start to freak out? Because that's the fear. That's the fear of change. That's the fear that is going to cause us to self sabotage. So you need to start somatically tuning your body to start to welcome more, gathering evidence. I said this in the mastermind I'm part of the other day. I watched a TikTok and a multimillionaire, he was getting interviewed. He makes multi-millions every single month. And this has really expanded my capacity for how much wealth there is in the world. And the interviewer asked him, okay, what would be the point where you're just like tapping your credit card, your card, and where you would have to kind of think about it? And the multimillionaire goes, oh, what's your guess? What do you think? And the interviewer said, oh, $50,000? No. $100,000? No. 120? No. And the multimillionaire goes, $350,000 would be the amount that I would have to think about. Isn't that incredible? Like that really just expanded my mindset because I'm like, he could go for a $50,000 lunch and he taps his card and it's nothing because his nervous system doesn't freak out at that. But his nervous system starts to think at $350,000. Now, I know for some of you that haven't actively been doing the money mindset, maybe even that is like you can't even fathom. But this is what I'm saying. We need to find evidence in our world and start to tune our bodies, start to somatically heal our body to be able to welcome more, not just wealth, anything, a new relationship, a new body, more clients in our business, a job promotion, an increase in salary, bonus, like a new car. Start to tune your nervous system. Start to feel like, where is it feeling a bit icky? Because that's when the self sabotage is going to come up. Number four, cut out the noise. Mute people, delete people, block people if you need to. Start to put an energetic shield around you when it comes to people just being low vibrational. People love to complain. People love to bitch and moan and complain about how crap life is and where they currently are. Start to speak more about where you're going and who you are becoming. Because the more you feed into, the low vibrational things of what what other people are saying, the more you're going to create that, the more you're going to live that. So start to cut out the noise on social media from your friends, the conversations you have from day to day interactions. If you're, you're interacting with people for your job, whatever it is, cut down on the noise. That's a super, super simple one that should be like, I like to audit my social media every quarter. I like to go through my following. I've started now kind of culling on my Facebook as well. There's just people that they don't need to be on there. I unfollow people, and on Instagram, I mute people, and it's just a reflection on where I'm at, and that's fine. And I think that everyone needs to have the understanding that to get further, you really need to be able to cut out the noise at your different levels. And then my number 5 is to start now. I think I said this a couple of episodes, but this is just to keep in mind you should be starting your goals and intentions and who you are becoming. It should be a flow and effect, and you really should be starting in November, but at time of recording, start now. If it's March and you're listening to this and you're feeling disappointed in yourself because you haven't started or you've fallen off the bandwagon, that's fine. Start now, start today. Like, quite literally, whenever you're listening to this, if it's like, you're listening to this at 8 p.m. at night in bed and you want to start consistently future scripting journal after this podcast, get out your journal and start today. Don't think I'm going to start tomorrow or I'm going to start on a Monday or whatever it is. Start now. Again, something you're probably like, obviously, but how obvious is it if you haven't actually actioned it? I really hope all of these realistic tips have helped you. Like I said, it's completely inspired by my CEO Monday happy hour goal setting and intention setting for 2024 workshop. You can join us live December 19th, or you can get the replay. All the links are in the show notes below. And I'm just so excited. It's going to be such a great workshop. It's only $22. Get your hands on it. This is something that is definitely going to change your life. Like, quite literally, this is going to help you with your habits, your procrastination. This is going to help you be excited and not get to February and feel like, oh, I've lost all momentum again. I can't be bothered, or like it's so hard. Like, don't do the same thing. Listen to me. I did this 2021 to 27. I've been through it for years. And the past 2 years have been the best years of my life so far. And it's, you know, part of this process of what I'm going to teach. So I hope to see you there. If there are any questions, you, of course, can slide into my DMs over on Instagram. You can write a comment below here on YouTube. But I appreciate you all. And I will see you next episode. Bye.